Some of the richness and the magic of our stories is that our people explore and express the transition between being human and animal. This is one of those stories. It is also a story that really makes your heart think. It is the story of the woman who had 10 puppies, and it happened a long time ago. It was when our people were preparing and they lived the life of the potlatch. One of our villages, our chief's daughter was going to marry, and when chief's children married, they always married the children from the chiefs of the families from the other tribes. And that's what kept our people unified as a Salish people and working together cooperatively. It was a beautiful, warm, early sunny day, and all of the families were out. And the chief's daughter, she was being very guarded because her marriage was very significant to their village and their success. One night when she was sleeping, someone had visited her sleeping quarters, and she woke up and she informed her aunts and her mother what had occurred. They were very upset, and they were going to do all they could to protect her and to protect the future of the tribe. So in an effort, when she went to sleep the next night, they painted her hands with red paint, and they said, if anybody comes to your sleeping quarters, you're to touch them on their back, and we will find out who that culprit is. The night came, she had went to sleep, and again, someone had visited her sleeping quarters. She did as she was told. The next morning, she informed her female relatives, who informed the chief. And the chief lined up all of the men in the village, and they were out, they were weaving, they were fixing fish nets. Everybody was out that morning. The young men were on the beach practicing their tactical warfare to protect their village in case of a raid. Everybody stopped their work and they listened to the chief, and he lined up all of the men along the beach to see who would have the red paint. But not one man had red paint on his back. And in fact, a dog had ran by, and sure enough, that dog had paint on its back, red paint. The family were so confused and extremely upset, and in their haste and in their anger, they told their young daughter to leave. And in fact, she got into her canoe and she traveled over to one of their abandoned villages, which was an island. When she arrived on the island, she built her shelter and she gathered berries, she clam digged, and she fished for herself, and she lived on her own. And in fact, she had many skills because she was a chief's daughter. From now and then, she would see someone travel in the canoe to study her and see how she was doing, but they would never communicate with her. They would just leave. She carried on, and sure enough, as time progressed, she had realized that her body was going through changes. And in fact, her stomach started to swell. She was pregnant. Weeks had passed, time had passed, and she gave birth. When she gave birth alone, but she knew the procedures because one of her relatives was a midwife. And when she gave birth to 10 puppies. But you know what? Every mother loves her children. So she cared for them, she fed them, she ensured that they were sheltered. Time progressed and those little puppies started to grow. The tide was out one morning and she went down to the beach to get them clams so that her children could have a good feed. Sure enough, she lit her little fire and she looked back and she told all of her children, the puppies, to stay around the fire, and they were jumping and playing as puppies do. But when she was coming back up with her basket full of clams and cockles, something caught her eye. And she swore she thought she saw little children dancing around the fire. But when she arrived, she saw her children, and they were in the form of puppies. Days had passed, and it was time to go get more clams and cockles to feed the family. So she told her children, she built a fire for them, she commanded her baby puppies to stay by the fire so they would be protected from the rest of the forest. But this time, she didn't go to the fire. She actually went to the periphery into the forest, and she hid behind a stump. And when her children thought that their mother was gone down the beach, they shed off their puppy skins, and they were dancing, and they were these beautiful, laughing little children dancing, playing around the fire. And while they were consumed with their joy in playing, they did not realize that their mother was sneaking up towards them and towards the fire. And before they could notice, their mother grabbed all of their puppy furs and threw them in the fire. And from that point on, those children could no longer transform into their dog form. They were to remain humans. Time went by, years went by, and this mother, she just loved her children so much. She prayed to the Creator, and she taught every skill she could possibly teach. And when she did not have a particular skill, she asked for guidance. Sure enough, one of her sons was a carver, another daughter was a weaver. One daughter knew the medicines and how to use the plants to keep you healthy and strong. One child was a tool maker, and life went on, and they were doing very well. But one winter, it was such an extremely harsh winter. It snowed and it snowed, but they were well sheltered. They had a very strong, sturdy longhouse. They also had enough food to get through the winter. Someone showed up on their island and was at the periphery of the village, and that person wore tattered clothes, and they looked very thin and skinny. In our language, we call them sehuem. They're a poor person. She went and greeted that individual, and sure enough, it was an older man. And he said to her, he said, "Our people are suffering, and we do not think we're going to make it through the winter. We are starving, we are hungry, and we come to you for your help. We know you and your family are strong and you are doing really well, and we are asking you to come back to us so that we can survive through this winter." So the young mother, she listened to the man, and she said, "Yes, I will." And she gathered all of her children, and they took all of their tools and all of their supplies and loaded up their canoes, and they went back and they helped their people survive the winter. And that is the story of the woman who had 10 puppies.